Hi, welcome to Up Your Nerd Cred. Did you used to know everything that was happening in the Marvel and DC universes? Did finding out that some superheroes are from Marvel and some are from DC blow your mind? Has keeping track of everything happening there and then realizing that we're only talking about the comics universe and not the cinematic ones, and all these different universes with all their multiversal crises, they've all gotten a little bit out of hand? Well, don't worry. Up Your Nerd Cred is here to talk about the gods cosplaying as men, the men cosplaying as gods, and how much cinematic universes are really leaving out. At the end of each episode, you'll hopefully know a little bit more than you did and can up your nerd cred. I'm your casual nerd host, Cece. You'll notice that it's just me today. Don't panic. As a reminder, we're going to be doing our Scarlet Witch double episode, and if you recall, we tend to start the episodes with a bit of a info/lore dump, and Wanda Maximoff on her own has so much lore just as her specific backstory that we're going to start by putting out a whole info dump episode so that you can, like, when we get into some of the specifics, you're already going to have the backstory already and we can focus on all of the fun parts. We want to give you some time to digest, and maybe I want to flex some of my own nerd knowledge so that you know that I too ain't new to it. I'm true to it. I'm occasionally your own expert nerd. So, as per usual, our first question is going to be, what are we nerding out about this week? Now, just a reminder, listeners, that you can nerd out about all kinds of things. It doesn't just have to be heroes and villains, okay? I have not seen a comment section on Civ 7 that has not been filled with people who are annoyed at the game. Apparently, meteorologists are actually really struggling to get the weather forecasts in, and I'm really hoping that we've hit a saturation point with a Coldplay couple. We're done. So, what are we nerding out about this week? Well, I'm going to briefly nerd out about how both of us actually got invited outside this week. AM attended the Fantastic Four premiere on Monday, and I attended the Alley Forney Center's Oasis Summer Gala / fundraiser on Wednesday. Now, I'm going to let AM tell you about his time at the premiere, but I will briefly mention that the Alley Forney Center, it's an amazing organ. I'm going to pop on my whole non-profiting hat to really fast to say that the Alley Forney Center, it's amazing. It provides trauma-informed wraparound services for LGBTQ youth experiencing homelessness. So what that means is that, once they get there, they have a roof, they have a place to do their laundry, they have a place to do workforce development or finish their education if they need to. They have internships with local businesses. I cannot say enough good things about the Alley Forney Center. However, since we are getting into the Wanda Maximoff of it all, I will just note that they're a great organization for you to be donating to, and we'll come back shortly after this to talk about Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. Welcome back. Okay. So, the question that is burning me up this week is, honestly, what is going on with Wanda Maximoff's origin story, okay? Scarlet Witch might be one of the most single rewritten women in the entirety of Marvel history. I'll remind you that Jean Grey exists, okay? Now, as I said before, since this is going to be a double episode, I'm essentially going to be doing the big introduction part now, and AM and I will get nuanced about it next week. She's got a lot going on, and trying to get it all in one go would be stressful. So, let's formally introduce the woman of the hour, shall we? The Scarlet Witch, whose government name is Wanda Maximoff, was introduced in X-Men #1, Volume 4 in March 1964, and was written by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Now, this issue actually announces that she's part of this wonderful group name, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Now, look, we already established that there were some incredibly silly names in the Silver Age, and group names were not immune from this. Also, fun fact, the Scarlet Witch is dressed in green on the covers, so they're clearly not aiming for any kind of consistency for her, just off the rip. So, anyway, Wanda Maximoff and her twin brother Pietro are introduced as being only kind of attached to the group. Magneto had saved them from an angry mob, and the life debt of them all really compelled them to stick around and back him up. Also, just so we know, Wanda is a mutant. Presumably, she and her brother have the X gene that leads to mutations, as is canon in the Marvelverse. She has her mutation, it's oddly defined as a hex power or kind of probability manipulation. So she can make bad things happen. I am not saying that the rash of bad luck you had after you stood her up was Wanda per se. Anyway, there's absolutely no reason for me to highlight that Wanda is a mutant. Because again, she's working with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So, since she and Pietro, though, were working with Magneto, and the Brotherhood was mostly a life-death situation, like I mentioned, by Avengers, like Volume 1, Number 16, in May 1965, Wanda and Pietro had switched sides and became Avengers. And while she's living her most Avengers life, she meets and starts a long and, I suppose, yes, stressful is going to continue to be the word of the day, stressful relationship with the Synthesoid Vision, starting in Avengers Volume 1, number 75 or 76 in 1970. Now, yes, the quirky girl and the straight man pairings are like florals for spring, but even if it's not groundbreaking, she needs someone stable in her life, because she's certainly not providing it. Now, to be fair, her entire origin story is a mess, not just her everyday life experiences. Okay, so we get our first really good lore drop about the twins in Avengers Volume 1, number 186, and that came out in August 79. So during that time frame, Cthon, the elder god, like of chaos, is like retconned into Wanda's entire delivery. Like, he has imbued her with chaos magic as she is born. Like, she is set up from the jump to be a magical conduit, okay? She's not just a mutant with hex powers. As we established, though, she's officially named as a mutant with hex powers. But no, she has Elder God chaos energy baked into her soul. So we find out that she and Pietro were born on Wundagore Mountain in the fictional East European nation of Transia. Now, remember this, we get a flashback to when the Maximoff twins came into the world, when Pietro has a conversation with Bova. I will explain Bova to you shortly. You see, the Maximoff twins were born to a woman named Magda, who was running in fear of her husband. All we know about him at this point is that he had powers and he used them in a way that scared her. Now, after giving birth, Magda disappeared out into the snow to hopefully prevent her husband from discovering her successful delivery. Wait, I did mention that they were born on Wundagore Mountain, right? Yeah, it's generally not conducive for popping kids out. And like I said, when she was on the mountain, she did have some help. A humanoid cow named Boba Ayrshire, one of the High Evolutionaries' new men. Did you watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3? The guy who made all of the human-animal hybrid things on the Counter-Earth? Him, that guy. Now, Magda didn't really have the ability at the time to take care of newborn twins, so she left the babies with the High Evolutionary. And again, Wundagore isn't really the best spot for normal human children. At least that's what Boba told him. And so he tried to actually give them to this other super couple, Miss America and the Wizard, aka Bob and Madeline Frank, a pair of Golden Age heroes. And they also happened to be delivering a baby in the same general area. And I just need to take a moment and ask, why are we delivering in the mountains, people? I was actually specifically told not to go to the mountains when I was about to pop my kid out. Although I suppose technically being a secret lab in the mountains makes it better, but not by much. Unfortunately, though, because people are giving birth in the mountains in a secret lab, we are batting 1 for 3 on live births here, and the Wizard's coping mechanism was apparently abandon everything and bolt. So ultimately, the High Evolutionary gave the twins to a Romani couple, Django and Maria Maximoff. Their caravan was passing in the mountains when the kids needed to be sent somewhere, and, well, Django and Maria had actually lost a set of twins of their own, and so they treated the babies as though their own twins had been brought back to them. Now, this is the backstory that has been cited by nerds for so long. But Wham, the Maximoff can't have anything nice, can she? So here is her first big retcon, the big change. Apparently, Magneto has been revealed to be Wanda and Pietro's biological father. I say apparently as though this isn't actually like the story that I know. I'm trying to be Anyway, so this comes out in Uncanny X-Men number 125, and it's really just like the Vision and Scarlet Witch series in the 1980s has like a huge amount of just like time spent making sure that we are all on the same page about this. So focusing on this retcon. Now, remember the time that there was the nice lady who was afraid of her husband's powers, but you didn't really know who he was, just that she didn't really want him finding out about them, their mother Magda? Fun fact, Magneto had a wife named Magna who disappeared while pregnant once. She fled after seeing his powers one day. Interesting. So now we have, to a certain extent, mutant royalty. They're like the children of Magneto, right? They were raised by the Roma. They were empowered by Cthon, experimented on by the High Evolutionary, and nearly adopted by Golden Age superheroes. I mean, come on. These are some very fancy kids. And then Magneto found out that not only did his wife die at a different time and a different place than he thought, he is now finding out that the kids that he didn't even know that he had are fighting on the side of Charles Xavier. I may make one or two jokes about them being exes, but would you want your kids fighting with your ex against you? I don't think so. I imagine it was a very stressful moment for him. Although I actually imagine it would be more stressful for Bova since he manipulated the iron in her blood until she told him their names. It's not like Magda ran from him because she thought that he was really just such a sweet teddy bear, you know? So this retcon, honestly, it was left untouched for decades. I mean, even the 90s X-Men cartoon canonized it, okay? It's deeply ingrained in fandom and publishing. So actually, it turns out that 30 odd years of the family relationship was getting in the way of progress a little. So remember that time that Marvel was doing really, really badly numbers-wise, and they maybe sold the rights to some of their characters to Fox and Sony and the like, you know, like the entire conceit of mutants, right, in their series? Yeah, good times, good times. But then, do you remember the time that Marvel had actually started to see some success with their cinematic universes and wanted to bring out other characters? I mean, I suppose there's no reason to bring that up except for the MCU stripped out her ethnicity and mutation, and I'm very cranky about this. Okay, let's cycle back a little bit. So it's in 2014, actually, on the Uncanny Avengers Volume 2, Number 4. That's where Marvel undoes basically the entire Magneto connection. Now, this storyline is part of an Access event where Red Skull merges with Xavier's brain, unleashes a whole bunch of messy psychic fallout. It is a lot of problems. Long story short, Wanda casts a spell to attack her blood, and nothing happens to Magneto. So surprise, surprise, they were never his children, actually. So now it turns out that she and Pietro, Wanda and Pietro, have been genetically altered by the High Evolutionary. His experiments gave him their powers. They are not mutants. They are not Magneto's kids. They are not tied to the X-Men anymore. Remember when I told you that she was for sure a mutant? Whoops! So why did they change this, right? So, okay, now again, remember, like I said, this is when the X-Men movie rights were held by Fox and Marvel Studios wanted to really get the Avengers going. So if Wanda and Pietro weren't actually mutants, they just, had been altered by some other means, then they would be able to put them in the MCU, which, we were introduced to them in Avengers Age of Ultron. And I don't know how it is that they decided that they were going to bring in Wanda and then take out Quicksilver, but I'm so sorry if that spoiler from that movie from quite some time ago, and also part of the story in WandaVision was a spoiler. I apologize. So, but yes, speaking of that though, is it how they were able to get Elizabeth Olsen into the MCU and such delights as that I previously mentioned as WandaVision and of course Agatha all along? Yes, we're not talking about Multiverse of Madness unless we have to. Does it suck that we've lost an opportunity to have Romani's on screen being heroes? But it doesn't mean that we've lost them in the pages too. So now, more specifically, after we've discovered that the twins aren't actually Magneto and Magda's, we get a chance to discover who Wanda's true mother is. Now, this part is it's not as well known. It's only been around for the last few years, but it's still, I think it's very cool, and tells a lot about her. So in the Scarlet Witch Volume 2 solo series, she goes on a journey of magical self-discovery, and she travels the world working on correcting magical imbalances. And so it's during this arc, really, and I want to focus a little bit of my time on the issues like 10 through 12, where she's finding out that she's actually the daughter of a Romani witch named Natalia Maximoff, not Magda. It turns out that Natalia was actually a powerful practitioner of chaos magic and actually served as a Scarlet Witch before Wanda. Also, Django and Maria are actually her uncle and aunt, and it turns out that it wasn't just people turning up on Wundagore all willy-nilly to give birth. It was more that the twins had been sent off to the High Evolutionary to keep the Knights of Wundagore out of Novi Pazar, Serbia, where their parents were from, where they were born. So Wanda meets her mother spirit on the Witch's Road, which is like a kind of mystical, metaphysical plane. It connects all the witches across the multiverse. And interestingly, time doesn't really exist the same way on the road that it does in our day-to-day. So Natalia and Wanda are actually able to have a conversation as they both travel it. Natalia gets to tell Wanda that she was always destined to be the Scarlet Witch, and her power comes not from mutation, not from experimentation, but from a magical legacy passed down through blood and spirit. It's not the High Evolutionary, it's not Hydra, it's not an Infinity Stone that gives her power. It's because she inherited it from her mother. At least, she currently is officially Wanda and Pietro's mother, and the reason that Wanda is the Scarlet Witch. But I'm pretty sure you can understand that since they changed it up after 30 years, I refuse to add anything but for now to her origin stories. However, and this is important, Wanda's paternity is still unresolved. The identity of her biological father remains unconfirmed, largely unconfirmed. I mean, we know it's not Magneto, and we know it's not the High Evolutionary directly. Natalia references a man that Wanda never knew, but doesn't name him. So basically, Wanda's got like her whole mother's side of the family tree figured out, but her dad is, I guess, still in witness protection. Maybe he went to go pick up some cigarettes. So to clarify, here's her current backstory. Wanda is not a mutant. She is not Magneto's daughter. She was experimented on by the High Evolutionary, and her magical lineage comes from Natalia Maximoff, who was previously the Scarlet Witch. We still don't know who her father is. She has a really strong direct metaphysical connection to chaos magic, and she's been down the witch's road. Honestly, Wanda's origin has been retconned so many times that she's kind of her own Crisis on Infinite Earths. But she always remains the Scarlet Witch. What I will say, though, with the name, though, is I don't think that it's as clear about how dangerous and powerful that she truly is. When I say Wanda Maximoff, you are thinking of her as just a witch. You're not paying attention, all right? We're not going to do a two-part on someone just because they exist, okay? Her power levels are about as nailed down as her origin story. All right? Actually, no. Let's go ahead and talk about her power some. Now, originally, Wanda's hex ability was treated kind of like bad luck energy, right? She can make all of your rolls nat 1s or nat 20s with just a twitch of her fingers. Luck, realistically, is kind of hard to nail down, and it's pretty ambiguous as a power. She does begin training with Agatha Harkness in the 1970s and is considered to be a proper witch because of that. But we really see how, her power scale is much larger than we thought when her magical connection to Chthon is revealed. Elder gods in general aren't short on power, and if he's picked her out special out of all of the humans, she's gotta have some really impressive magical capacity. Do you have the capacity to create twins just because you really, really want them, despite the fact that their father is... Actually, I'm not sure if robot is a slur, actually. But Wanda is very much a woman who needs a family, and it turns out that more than just putting the thumb on the scale of probability, she has much grander powers than we were initially given to believe. Wanda has 2 children, Billy and Tommy, and they serve to ground her in ways that we quickly discover are crucial to her entire well-being, especially when it comes to understanding her instability and grief. So, yeah, during the Vision and Scarlet Witch, the Vision and Scarlet Witch series in the 1980s, Wanda uses magic to become pregnant, and she gives birth to twin boys. Mazel tov! Except it turns out that their souls are actually fragments of Mephisto's essence. And since AM isn't here, I will say that while he is a Lord of Hell, I don't think he counts as a capital D devil. But yes, when Mephisto reabsorbs those fragments, the children cease to exist, okay? Now, the fact that the episode isn't entirely known for her slapping the shit out of everyone who tells her that her children don't exist is impressive, but the trauma of gestating, birthing, and raising two babies who she wanted so badly, and them just not existing, it's so profound that Agatha Harkness actually has to wipe her memory of the boys to really spare her the pain of it. The idea of better to have loved than lost really doesn't apply to somebody who's able to warp reality. Well, I mean, how do we know this? The entirety of the House of M storyline. Now, listen, this lady, not stable. I don't understand how this team, who has 80 PhDs or whatever, that nobody can find her a competent shrink? That is a problem. Wanda's emotional breakdown isn't just yelling at a barista after having a really shitty day. It is a multiversal blast. Okay, so after Disassembled, she creates basically a new reality where mutants rule. Magneto is president, and basically everyone gets their heart's desire. Wolverine remembers that it's fake, and then everything unravels. Wolverine does that sometimes. So when Wanda's confronted with the full consequences of what she's done, she says probably the most famous 3 words in the Marvel Universe: no more mutant. I want to be cool about it, but that panel is one that will be remembered for generations. The tears falling down her face as she makes the declaration that nullifies most of the mutant population across the multiverse. In just our world, the mutant population went from millions to under 200. This is not a retcon bomb. It is a full nuke on continuity, okay? I mean, yes, one disappears for a while and eventually she comes back, but her name is pretty radioactive in mutant circles, and I mean, I think it makes sense. Would you tell them that they're wrong? Anyway, she does try to fix things, but still not popular. In 21, there's the trial of Magneto, and they try to find a balance between how she hurt all of mutant kind and how she has to serve mutant kind in the future. And in this storyline, Wanda is murdered. She's resurrected and is reborn as something different. She's kind of a bridge between the mutant resurrection protocols that they developed and some mystical ancestry. She opens the door for some forgotten mutants to return. And so she's allowed to be around the X-Men, even though not everybody in the entire, crew is super, super pleased with this. It is the official position of this podcast that you do not have to forgive the Scarlet Witch if she demutant you against your will. The official policy. So, the deeper you go with Scarlet Witch, honestly, the more you hit on this one fundamental question. Is she a good witch or a bad witch? I think the only honest answer is yes. Both. Neither. I mean, it depends on who you ask and in what decade you ask them. Because, I mean, Wanda Maximoff isn't just polarizing within the Marvel universe. She's kind of Rorschach text for power, pain, and whether or not redemption even means anything in the Marvel universe, actually. I mean, again, on paper, she's one of the most powerful beings in the entirety of comics, okay? Her power level keeps scaling up. Again, we talked about first it being just hexes, then it's reality warping. She's got chaos magic, she's resurrection, she dimension crosses, you name it. Again, 3 words and she got rid of over 90% of mutants. She can bargain with cosmic forces. I mean, like, she can sass, like, ideas of the universe and they flinch. And yet, not a single therapist in the entire multiverse, like, nobody just sat her down with, like, a box of tissues, a copy of, like, He Keeps the Score or something like that. Why does he do that? She's got grief and trauma, and her identity is doing a lot, which is hard to do on your own if your identity keeps being changed, and your identity keeps being changed, and you have reality altering powers. That's she's going to make the whole DSM-6 all by herself. Now, what I will say about Wanda, though, is she is a fantastic mother. She's fiercely devoted, she's emotionally raw, and terrifyingly powerful when she feels like her kids are threatened. So how exactly did Billy and Tommy come back so that she could be a little bit less of a crazy person? Well, long story short, chaos magic again. Reincarnation, maybe. Sort of? Eh. Billy and Tommy do come back, but they are Billy Kaplan and Tommy Shepard, and they're raised by different families, and they don't actually know for quite some time that they are actually her kids. And when they finally get to reconnect with her, it's really nice. And a lot of Wanda's magic is way more emotional than logical. And if she believes hard enough, the universe catches up with her. That talk about Vision, honestly. Tragic robot synthezoid husband. They did break up for a bit, and it didn't come from a lack of love. It honestly came from too much rewriting. There's too many deaths, too many rebirths, too many emotional resets. How many times can Vision have his memories wiped and rebuilt before the thing that makes their connection real just kind of breaks? How do you sustain a relationship when your entire identity keeps getting retconned out from you? And then after Vision, she did have a brief thing with Wonder Man, the Avenger who his brain patterns were used to help create Vision in the first place. So yeah, she kind of did go out with some version of her ex, but I'm pretty sure we all saw the Ship of Theseus discussion, and comics are weird, honestly. Comics are weird. So honestly, let's just say it like that. So honestly, where does this leave Wanda? Well, honestly, it depends on the day and the writer and whatever mood you're in. Like I said, she's trouble when she walks in, and you don't know if she's crazy in love, drunk in love, or coming in like a wrecking ball. But you can't help being addicted to watching her and Vision's bad romance. Okay, AM isn't here to stop me, which means that I have to stop myself. So to keep me from making more puns, I have to take a quick break and get them all out on my own. Be right back. Welcome back to the thrilling conclusion of Up Your Nerd Cred. So, the week ahead is going to be kind of busy in the DC and Marvel universes. Make sure you check your calendar. We have very important things going on. For example, Lucy Lane, Lois's sister, her birthday is actually today, July 25th. Also happening on July 25th, the Fantastic Four movie drops. Now listen, I don't get to see it until Tuesday because of baby days, so if you spoil it for me, we're gonna fight, okay? Cool. Also, coming up on the 26th is Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot's birthday. The Penguin. Bad guys have birthdays too. Also, on 7/26, the Wolverine film hit theaters. So that was a really fun time in 2013. So I know, listeners, you are not prepared for the end of our podcast. I know. You're clearly devastated about it. How is it over so soon? Good news! Our next episode is going to be coming out in a week, and you can listen to this one if it's not fast enough. And don't forget, we're going to be doing all of the fun and exciting deep dive of Wanda Maximoff. Not just the backstory, but some of the things that she's done that really, really dig into how much of her instability is her fault and how much of it is the people around her. Nerd cred takes time to build, but if Wanda Maximoff can eventually settle down in a backstory, I guess you can too. So, we are on all of the different socials, Instagram and Facebook at Up Your Nerd Cred Pod. We're on Apple and Spotify and YouTube, and we're working on expanding our reach. If you have a burning question that you want to ask us, feel free to send it to us, and we will go ahead and shout you out if we use your question. So if you'd like, though, please make sure that you can send a like and a comment. Tell your friends, your family, your coworkers, the people that you don't think are going to be weird about it, the people on the bus. And this is when usually AM stops me. Good night, everybody.